Leo, my dear fire-hearted soul, something extraordinary is happening around you. Can you feel it? The energy has shifted. A river of money is already flowing in your direction. Someone has their eyes on you with quiet intensity. And that final curse, the one that's been lingering like a shadow over your destiny, has just been broken. This isn't just another astrological forecast. This is a divine message wrapped in timing, ready to unfold exactly when your soul was prepared to hear it. If you're here, listening to these words, know this: it wasn't by accident. It wasn't random. You were called here. In fact, your spirit has been whispering for this moment far longer than you may realize. There comes a point in every Leo's journey where survival is no longer enough. You weren't born to simply get by. You were born to lead, shine, and rise in undeniable abundance. And this video, right here, right now, is the turning point. Today, we're diving deep into why your energetic field is pulling in wealth, why a silent observer has been watching your path closely, and most importantly how a karmic blockage that's been strangling your progress is now dissolving completely. This is not spiritual fluff. This is cosmic redirection. The portals have opened, and whether you're ready or not, the current is moving. You are standing at the edge of something breathtaking, Leo. But you must decidido you flow with it or resist what you've prayed for. Before we go any further, take a breath with me. Ground yourself in this present moment. Let go of everything outside this space. Right here, right now, I want you to claim your alignment. Go to the comments and write, "I am ready to receive what is already mine." Say it with your energy. Anchor it with your intention. This is more than a comment. This is a contract with the universe. And let me take a moment to thank you. Truly. Every view, every like, every comment, and every subscription to this channel makes it possible for messages like this to reach those who need them most. Your presence here fuels this space. Your energy co-creates these moments. I see you. I honor you. And I'm grateful you're part of this sacred circle. Now listen closely, Leo. In the minutes ahead, you'll discover truths your spirit has been trying to send you for weeks, maybe even years. You'll learn why people are suddenly drawn to you, why old patterns are finally collapsing, and how to recognize the opportunities arriving under the disguise of coincidences. Stay with me until the very end of this message. Not only will you walk away with insight, but you'll feel the energetic shift happening in real time. Because what the universe is about to reveal to you is nothing short of miraculous. And Leo, you've waited long enough. Let's begin. Leo, as we continue on this sacred path together, I invite you to pause and sense the threshold beneath your feet. One part of you is still standing in a familiar but draining space, perhaps a place of self-doubt, old expectations, or responsibilities that were never truly yours to begin with. And yet, another part of you is already leaning into a field of light that pulses with possibility. This image is not just symbolic, it's energetic. Your soul knows this crossroad intimately. We all reach moments when the old life no longer fits, yet the new life feels too expansive to fully trust. That's where you are now. This is your sacred in-between. Astrologically, you're being held in the tension of opposites, and it's not accidental. Right now, the planet Uranus, the great awakener, is shaking the foundations of what you once believed was safe or true about your role in the world. And Jupiter, the planet of divine expansion, is gently but firmly pushing open a door to financial, emotional, and spiritual abundance. But here's the mystery: that door doesn't swing open through force. It opens through surrender. You don't walk through it by efforting or striving. You walk through it by aligning. This moment is less about chasing and more about choosing. Not choosing with fear, but with clarity. What are you still holding on to, Leo? Is it a toxic relationship that convinces you love must come with suffering? Is it a job that drains your spirit under the guise of stability? Or is it the quiet, hidden belief that if you become too powerful, too successful, or too free you'll lose the love, identity, or control you've built around struggle? This crossroads is not punishment. It is divine mercy. It is the soft, whispering grace that says, you no longer have to earn your worth through exhaustion. You are not being asked to fix your past. You are being asked to bless it for what it taught you and step forward anyway. You are not betraying anyone by evolving. The only betrayal would be to abandon yourself now, when everything you've prayed for is finally within reach. In sacred texts and ancient spiritual teachings, this in-between place has always been described as holy. In moments of doubt and transition, we are reminded, do not be afraid, for I have redeemed you. I have called you by name, you are mine. That is not a command. That is a promise. When God walks us to the edge of what's known, it's never to shame us, it's to reveal how boundless we truly are when we release what we were never meant to carry. You are not lost, Leo. You are becoming. And the beauty of becoming is that it doesn't always feel graceful. Sometimes it feels like standing barefoot at the doorway of a new world while still looking back, unsure if you're ready to leave the old one behind. But the truth is you've already left it. Every insight, every awakening, every broken illusion has been paving the path to this very moment. You are not standing at the threshold by mistake. You were born to reach this point. And the decision before you isn't about what you're walking away from. It's about what you're finally walking toward. This is not just about finances, though they are coming. This is not just about relationships, though they are shifting. This is about alignment. This is about spiritual maturity. This is about no longer making yourself small to fit inside rooms your soul has already outgrown. So breathe, and ask yourself not what you're losing, but what you're ready to receive. You don't have to be fearless. You just have to be honest. What would change today if you trusted that the light ahead isn't a trap, but your inheritance? And if even a part of you whispers, yes, then you already know which direction to move in. Leo, as we gently step further into this energetic landscape, I want you to slow down and really notice what's been happening around you lately. Have you felt the sensation of eyes on you even when you're alone? A subtle shift in attention, a whisper of energy that makes the hairs on your neck stand just slightly on edge? This isn't paranoia. It's presence. You are being watched, but not in the way that fear imagines. You are being noticed because you are rising, and those who once overlooked you are now feeling the heat of your light. In astrology, Leo is ruled by the sun, the celestial body that cannot hide, that does not dim to make others feel more comfortable. And as you've begun to reclaim your radiance, there are people, energies, and past connections that are becoming magnetized by your glow. This is the phase where your frequency shifts from survival to embodiment, and that shift calls forth attention both genuine and distorted. In the archetypes of tarot, this energy aligns closely with the Watcher. It's the quiet figure observing from the shadows, not yet making a move, but calculating, remembering, assessing your newfound strength. It could be someone from your past, a former friend, an ex-lover, a colleague who once underestimated your potential or tried to clip your wings when they saw you about to take flight. And now, they see that you've soared beyond the cages they once designed for you. Their gaze may carry admiration, curiosity, envy, or even unresolved longing. But the truth is they see you now because you finally see yourself. Here's where the healing begins. This attention is not your enemy. It is your mirror. The question is not, why are they watching me? The deeper question is, what is my light awakening in others, and am I strong enough to stay aligned with my truth, no matter how they respond? This is a test not of ego, but of embodiment. In our everyday lives, especially during seasons of change, many of us carry unspoken wounds around being misunderstood or manipulated. It's easy to feel that the presence of a watcher is a threat. But perhaps it's an opportunity. Perhaps their observation is the universe's way of inviting you to clarify your boundaries, not to retreat into fear, but to rise into discernment. You are not responsible for how others feel about your light. You are responsible for how you choose to use it. And if you're being observed, it means you're doing something worth noticing. But attention alone is not love. Curiosity is not commitment. Familiarity is not loyalty. These are truths we all must learn when stepping into higher levels of energetic clarity. The emotional work here is subtle but essential. You are being called to evaluate quietly and honestly who deserves access to the evolved version of you. Not out of bitterness, but out of sacred self-respect. Are you willing to love yourself enough to be selective with your energy? Are you open to the idea that some people reappear not to reconnect, but to test whether you've really grown? This isn't about shutting people out. It's about honoring the journey you've walked. It's about being brave enough to recognize the difference between those who come to celebrate your light and those who simply want to warm their hands by it without ever offering their own. And so I invite you to sit with this question. Are you ready to reset your boundaries not with force, but with wisdom? Are you willing to release the need to be understood by everyone, so you can be fully aligned with those who truly see you? Let this awareness be gentle. Let it be sacred. Let it teach you how to stand tall in the sunlight without apology. Not everyone who sees you is meant to walk with you. And not every return is a reunion. Some are simply reminders of how far you've come. And that is worth watching. Leo, as we move deeper into the unfolding of this powerful reading, I want to gently invite your attention to what's arriving not in the distant future, but right now, in the subtle layers of your experience. There is an undeniable shift in the current of your life, and it is most clearly showing up through the flow of abundance. The energy of money is no longer trickling, it's surging, moving toward you like a river finally released from a dam that's held for far too long. And the reason this surge feels different is because it's not driven by ambition or control, it's magnetized by alignment. When money comes from alignment, from a soul that has done the inner work to remove the barriers of unworthiness, shame, and scarcity, it doesn't come in fragments. It comes in waves. Not because you hustled harder, but because you stopped resisting your natural worthiness to receive. The universe has always been rich, Leo. The real question is, have you finally come into agreement with that truth? Financial miracles in this season may show up as surprises. A debt someone owed you but you never expected to see again suddenly finds its way back. A passion project, once dismissed as a hobby, begins to generate steady income. An old connection returns with an invitation to collaborate, only this time you have the upper hand, and the clarity to choose from a place of sovereignty, not desperation. From an energetic perspective, this is the realm of numerological balance. The vibration of the number 6, which governs this season, speaks of harmony, reciprocity, and justice. 6 is not only the number of love and responsibility, it is the number of cosmic repayment. It is the moment when the universe whispers, "You carried the burden for long enough. Now it's time to receive the fruit." What you are experiencing, Leo, is not luck. It is delayed divine compensation. It is the return of what was once blocked, now multiplied, now cleansed, now sacred. But here is what many don't talk about when it comes to abundance: receiving requires spiritual capacity. You must have the emotional nervous system to hold what is now pouring in. Money is not just currency. It is energy, and like all energy, it amplifies what already exists. That is why so many who come into sudden wealth also fall into sudden chaos they receive from an old identity that believes in lack, and so they spend in fear rather than steward in trust. You, Leo, are not meant to repeat that pattern. You are meant to create a new template, one where money serves your purpose, not replaces it. One where financial abundance becomes a tool for healing, not another mask for the wounded self. So when this wealth arrives, and it will be, awake. Be present. Bless it. Use it with discernment. Let it reflect the wholeness you have cultivated, not the wounds you once wore. This is also a time to track the emotional signals that arise with your new abundance. Do you feel guilty for having more than others? Do you fear losing what you're just now receiving? Or do you finally believe that your expansion doesn't diminish anyone, that there is enough for all, and that your overflow is part of the collective healing? You're not just receiving for yourself. You're anchoring a new legacy. Every dollar that flows into your life now is carrying the frequency of freedom, not just for you, but for those who walk after you. And you get to decide what story that money will tell. So if you feel this wave rising, if you sense the vibration of prosperity inching closer, speak it. Declare it. Type it in the comments as a living affirmation. Money is coming from every direction. Not just as a wish, but as a truth you are finally ready to live. And as you speak it, feel the shift. Because in this moment, you are not chasing money. You are allowing it. You are no longer surviving, you are ready to thrive. Leo, if you've made it this far in the message, it's because something within you is ready, truly ready, let go of what has held you back for far too long. Not just in this lifetime, but perhaps across many lifetimes, in countless forms, through inherited patterns, unspoken fears, and beliefs you didn't even realize you had agreed to. The truth is, not all chains are visible. Some are emotional. Some are energetic. Some are stories passed down through generations so quietly that they live inside us like background music, shaping how we move through the world without us ever noticing. Until now. Imagine, if you will, a chain that has been wrapped around your soul, not to punish you, but to bind you to a version of life that was never fully yours. A chain made of statements like, "I have to suffer to succeed," "I'm not lovable unless I prove my worth," or "Good things don't last for people like me." These aren't just thoughts, theory, energetic contracts, karmic agreements handed down from those who came before you, who didn't know any better. But you, Leo, you are the one who does. Astrologically, this moment reflects a deep culmination. You've entered a phase in which karmic patterns are no longer hidden beneath the surface. Pluto's slow, powerful transit through the deep parts of your chart has been stirring up these unconscious agreements for years. And now, as cosmic doors begin to open, you are being asked not just to walk forward but to consciously leave behind what never truly belonged to you. This is liberation, not in theory, but in practice. This curse that is breaking is not a hex or a spell cast by another. It's the internalized belief that you were never allowed to be free. That belief is dissolving. Not because someone saved you. Not because your circumstances magically changed. But because you, Leo, have risen to a place of emotional maturity where you no longer identify with that old pain. The moment you realize that your worth doesn't come from struggle, that was the moment the chain snapped. In energy healing, we speak of ancestral patterns as energetic blueprints. They get passed down like DNA, coded into your emotional responses, your financial patterns, your relationship dynamics. You may have wondered why you kept repeating cycles, or why the same disappointments found you even when you tried to do everything right. It's because the programming was still running. Until it wasn't. And the only way it stops is when someone brave enough finally says, "This ends with me." That's what you're doing now. You are ending a cycle so ancient, so deeply embedded, that it may take time for your body and heart to fully grasp the magnitude of what has shifted. And yet, you've already felt it. That lightness in your chest. That sudden moment of clarity. That feeling of no longer needing to explain yourself. You don't owe your pain an explanation. You owe your future your full presence. This is why I ask you, in this moment, to take a sacred action. Write these words below: I allow the final curse to dissolve forever. Don't just type them, feel them. Let each word be a key that unlocks something ancient inside you. Let this act be your signature on the soul-level contract that says, I am free now. You don't need permission to be happy. You don't need to wait for someone to tell you you've done enough. This is your moment to reclaim your life without guilt, without apology. This is what spiritual growth looks like, not perfection, but freedom. And Leo, you didn't just break a pattern, you became the answer to a prayer whispered by every ancestor who hoped one day someone would finally be strong enough to choose joy over duty, love over legacy, peace over proving. And that someone is you. Leo, as we move deeper into this journey together, the energies begin to whisper something more personal, more tender, and perhaps more sacred than anything we've touched so far. This is the part of your path where what once felt small, dismissed, or even foolish suddenly begins to glow with quiet power. There's something inside you, a spark you've been carrying for years, maybe your entire life, that's now asking to be ignited. Not for show, not for validation, but because it was never meant to stay hidden. And now, in the energy of release and return, it has space to rise. From an astrological lens, this is the influence of Mercury dancing in harmony with your solar essence. It activates the creative channels, the throat chakra, the sacred center of expression. At the same time, Chiron, the wounded healer, is offering you a mirror not to reflect where you failed, but to remind you that what once wounded you may now become the very medicine you're meant to offer the world. You may have been told you talk too much, feel too deeply, dream too wildly. But in the new paradigm you're stepping into, these aren't weaknesses, they are currencies. They are gifts. They are vehicles of wealth and impact. Think about the idea you once brushed aside because it seemed silly. Maybe it was writing stories, teaching others how to breathe through anxiety, starting a podcast where your voice could hold someone through a dark night they never told anyone about. Or maybe it was something as subtle as creating beauty through food, through music, through your way of making others feel seen. This is the time to revisit that spark. Because now, the conditions are ripe. Not just in your outer world, but within your own belief system. You no longer need external permission to take up space. The only permission that matters now is your own. In self-help and energy work, we often talk about the power of micro-shift, small daily acts that recalibrate your entire frequency. Taking a walk in the morning sun while holding an intention. Drinking water not just to hydrate, but to clear stagnant emotional energy. Increasing magnesium to support your nervous system as you take new creative risks. These may seem simple, but they are foundational acts of self-respect, and they clear the way for creative flow to emerge without resistance. And when it comes to love, Leo, this is your reminder: stop loving like you're afraid to lose. Start loving like you're free to give. Let your heart express itself without attaching it to outcomes. You don't need to prove your worth through how much you tolerate. Let your love be fierce and light. Let it say, I am whole with or without you, but I'd love to walk with you if you honor my fire. In your finances, begin tracking not just your expenses but the energy behind every purchase. Are you buying out of fear? Or are you investing with vision? The universe responds to energetic clarity. And money, like love, flows where it feels respected. Record it. Acknowledge it. Bless it. When you do, you tell the universe, I am ready to be trusted with more. You are not being asked to become someone else. You are being asked to finally become who you've always been. The version of you who creates, who inspires, who leads not because they are loud, but because they are aligned. That is the Leo frequency, bold, generous, magnetic. So don't dismiss your ideas. Don't silence your voice. Don't shrink your art. What you carry is not random, it's revelation. And it was given to you not just to survive, but to thrive, to serve, and yes, to prosper. The spark within you is real. Now is the time to fan the flame. When your soul begins to remember its worth, the universe responds by sending people who don't need you to prove it. In this sacred phase of your journey, Leo, you're no longer being pushed toward success through isolation or struggle. Instead, you're being gently called toward connection, real, nourishing connection that doesn't require masks or performance. What's shifting now is the energetic ecosystem around you. And this change is so much deeper than a new social circle. It's the awakening of a soul-aligned community that sees you not just for what you can produce, but for who you are when you're still, when you're tender, when you're simply human. This is what astrologers call the soul circle activation. It often comes after a period of profound loneliness or betrayal, a divine recalibration that clears out those who were aligned with your past trauma, not your future purpose. The cosmos is orchestrating meetings now that feel like home. These are the people who speak your soul's language, even in silence. They may show up in unexpected places: a podcast comment, a quiet reader of your blog, a stranger who holds your gaze a few seconds longer than usual. But you'll recognize them not by how loud they arrive, but by how safe you feel in their presence. The deeper energy at play here is that of vibrational alignment. When your nervous system starts healing, especially after years of emotional overextension, you begin attracting people whose nervous systems are also regulated, peaceful, and rooted. You're no longer addicted to adrenaline-based relationships, or proving your value through overgiving. Instead, you're drawn to those who, like you, are committed to gentleness, truth, and healing. This is your new energetic family. And within it, you're not required to hustle for worthiness. The law of attraction teaches that we don't manifest from desperation, we manifest from self-trust. So when you rewrite the template of who belongs in your life, you're telling the universe, I am ready to be loved in the places I once felt most abandoned. That simple shift, from grasping to allowing, from enduring to receiving, begins to open portals. And the most powerful portal now isn't just about money, it's about being truly seen. So if you've recently felt the urge to walk away from friendships that drain you, or communities that diminish you, know that it's not a sign of failure, it's a sign of sacred preparation. The people who are coming into your orbit now are not looking to consume you, compare with you, or compete with you. They're looking to co-create with you. They want to witness your becoming, not edit it. Now is the time to write out the qualities of the people you wish to attract. What values do they hold? How do they handle conflict? How do they support your dreams when you're doubting them yourself? The more specific you are, the faster the universe begins to rearrange the paths to bring you together. And remember, the first person you must stop abandoning is yourself. When you begin checking in on your own heart the way you once checked on others, a new form of emotional safety begins to form within you, and that becomes the magnet for every soul-led connection you're destined to meet. The loneliness wasn't punishment. It was the clearing. Now, the community you've prayed for is on its way, and this time, they won't ask what you can do for them. They'll ask if you're okay. They'll stay. And they'll remind you you were never meant to do this alone. And so, Leo, we arrive at this sacred moment, not the end of your story, but the beginning of your awakening. Everything you've experienced was never meant to break you. It was meant to prepare you. The river of money that is now flowing into your life isn't just financial, it is energetic. It is the flow of restoration, divine timing, and overdue justice finally catching up to the real you, the version of you that refused to give up. Someone has been watching you not out of envy or ill intent, but because they feel the frequency shift in your soul. They see the changes you've made quietly. They feel the boundaries you've begun to set. And even if they never say it out loud, your growth is undeniable. You're not who you were. You've broken a chain that's been in your family for generations, and that's why. The curse is gone. You are no longer the one who has to apologize for being too much or not enough. You are the chosen one for this timeline, the one brave enough to say, I won't repeat what wounded me. I will rise, I will receive, and I will rebuild. So let me ask you this, Leo, will you allow yourself to receive what is already yours? Will you give yourself permission to rest, to believe, to stop proving, and just receive? What if everything you've prayed for is now waiting on you to open your hands, not hustle harder? Let today be the day you stop delaying your miracle. Let this moment be your spiritual declaration, not just for the universe to hear, but for you to remember. Now, take a deep breath. Anchor this in. And if it resonates with your soul, Write these 2 affirmations in the comments as a sacred practice. I am ready to drown in the wealth I deserve. I allow the final curse to dissolve forever. This is how you open your divine portal, not with force, but with faith. Not with fear, but with flow. If this message touched something deep inside you, give it a like, not for me, but for you, as a commitment to your new story. Subscribe to Eternal Mindfulness for weekly cosmic guidance, because your journey isn't meant to be walked alone. This is a soul circle, a community of light. And someone else out there is waiting for you to shine, so they can believe in their light too. Finally, share this message with a Leo you love. Maybe it's the one who's secretly breaking inside but hiding behind a smile. This video might just be their lifeline. Remember, everything is changing not because you forced it, but because you aligned with who you truly are. You're not chasing blessings anymore. You are the blessing. And it's time the world sees it.